Got it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of Education for a Better World. I'm your host, Abdi Lajavardi, and I'm delighted today. I have a very special guest. I have Dr. Ray Brogan with me. He's a dear friend and a colleague, and I am welcome. Ray, it's nice to have
Thanks,
you.
Abdi. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Ray, maybe you can start telling us about yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I started college late in life. Actually, I started, right after high school, but, a lot of things going on that time. Society was changing and such, and I didn't last very long. I came back 10 years later after having many, worldly experiences, and it was a whole new world for me. So college was a challenge when I came right out of high school, but once I went back as an adult, I was more focused and I had more respect from the professors. I knew more things to talk about. So when I grew up, I lived in a poor neighborhood most of my childhood, but everyone was poor, so we didn't really feel that bad. My parents moved to a new place, which was McLean, Virginia, which is very affluent today, but back then, we didn't know which way it was going to go. It was very rural, and they could have put in tract housing that sold very cheap and moved all the poor people over into McLean. But no, but again, we weren't a high society, and we had to interact with all these people who were, very rich and affluent, and one way I found that I could compete was through academic achievement. But we were the, what we considered low social class and low socioeconomic status. My parents kind of encouraged me to kind of hold back, don't look too smart, because kids might pick on you, something like that. I've had ups and downs in my education. My first year, though, was beautiful. I went to a private school because my birthday's late in the year. My parents wanted me not to lose that year, to get in as soon as possible. And it's brilliant school, and it's run by a husband and wife team who really knew what education was all about. And so I was so excited to go to school every day. Then I moved to regular, school in second grade, and it was really a letdown. It wasn't a happy experience, but I did my best. And my teacher was grumpy all the time. And actually, at 7 years old, I kind of felt sorry for her. She could have invested herself more. She could have really made it a beautiful experience for everybody. And yet, she, she looked like she didn't like to come to work every day. So, but a couple of years were really good for me. Third grade, I was doing really well. But high school was more or less up and down. I took, some of my bad study habits into college, so I didn't make it through. After going from high school to college, I didn't make it through. But I went back at age 32, and I got my degree right away. I was through Excelsior College. They had a really brilliant kind of, again, very brilliant educational philosophy, and they went through the various courses that I took, and I said, I just got a C in that course. And he said, but look, these are the main objectives, and you hit all those main objectives, so we'll accept the credits for that. Another one like, I think it was like something like literature 101, I got a D, but literature 102, I got an A. And they said, well, we don't usually accept Ds, but since you did an A in the second half, you must have made up for whatever problems you had in the first one. So we'll just average it out and give you a B for both, So, okay. So anyway, little things like that got to me. And they used CLEP tests and other standardized tests to test college level knowledge. And I was fascinated with that. I said, boy, where can I learn more about these things? So as soon as I got my bachelor's, I started working on a master's degree in education. And then I went to the next university to see how far I could get to PhD. Not really expecting to get far, but one day they walked into me and they said, you know what? You got to start deciding what your dissertation is going to be about. And I'm like, me? Do a dissertation? Get a PhD? So also, I started doing a internship or teaching assistantship. Had me teaching child development. My children were very young at the time, 7 and 4, and really wonderful time in child life. I'd go into class and, I'd give lectures, but it was just like talking about my kids because, I read about the theory, I could see it actually playing out with my children. And yeah, so it's really got me really interested in being a professor of, first of all, child development, but then education, and then many other, other areas of psychology or educational psychology. And pretty much it's led me to this day.
Well, thank you very much. That's very exciting. That's a good definition of how life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. So the journey that you had and the way you described for us, you went through the elementary and then secondary, got to college and not really felt that this was all made up to be, because it wasn't as enjoyable as you wish for everybody to be, because it's very important. What you talked about, the first grade teacher and the second grade is really what you see even in the same school. Sometimes you see teachers that are making a world of difference with their students, and then next door they are just the opposite taking place, so it's very important for teachers to really think about what they can do, because it is a huge impact that we are making on the students that we have, regardless of what grade or how old they are. But being able to make education fun and exciting and giving individuals that belief and that excitement about what they are learning and what their potential lies ahead of them, it makes all the difference in the world.
Right.
But then
something of value.
Absolutely. And then, your journey in the higher education after a 10-year plus, gap, and then going back as an adult, that must have been quite a challenge in one area. You made it work for you. Yeah. But a lot of people, especially in the US, and some of our audience are from all over the world, there is really never too late to go back and learn something. Right. And I encourage that very well for everybody to do that. Don't think that you're too old to do anything. Yeah. Being happy and learning and growing is something that we can do to the last day of our life, and we should. Mm-hmm. And a good example is my good friend here that he shared with us. So, maybe you can touch base a little bit for some of our audience that maybe are in a later years of their life, and they're thinking about, what if I go back to the school and get a degree or change my career or something? Do you have any word of advice that, how are you going to juggle life and the school and everything else?
Oh, I think a lot of people, have that fear of failure, but if you don't try, that's a failure. If you try and you don't get as far as you want, it's still not a failure. You tried and you're someplace where you weren't before. So, I made a challenge that I was going to finish up my degree in less than a year when I went back at 32. And I said, maybe that's not realistic, but, I tried it and I made it. But when I was worried that maybe I might not make it, I realized that, at least I'll be closer to my goal. Moving forward, I'll be close to my goal, no matter what I achieve. So, yeah, it's almost like go for broke. I gave up a year of my life, to finish up that degree, and it paid off.
And a lot of time, you didn't think about you going all the way to go to get your PhD.
Yeah, right.
And really, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Sometimes it may take 3, 4, 5 years. So what?
Right.
When you look back and see, what happened in the last 5 years, in 10 years, time flies before you know it.
Right.
And it's not really the time that matters, it's the quality and what we get to live, right? I mean, when you're learning something that you enjoy and it makes a difference in your life, you are a winner. You don't need to wait for somebody to give you a paper to say you are.
Right.
So, and life is challenge. Obviously, you have children, you have, family, you have work that you do. It is not easy. That's granted. It's not easy. You
Mm.
may need to take a lesser amount of units, but it is doable and it's enjoyable. It just makes everything else sweeter in life.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So maybe you can share with us. You talked about some of the work that you did as a teacher assistant, and now when you look back, how important was that internship, that actual work experience that you got by becoming a teacher assistant or getting an internship in teaching? How did it work out for you? What do you think about that whole
Oh,
process?
yeah. It forced me to perform, at a professional level. So if I hadn't had that and I showed up the first day as a professor, I wouldn't know what to expect. But as an intern, assistantship, I'd go in there and it was my class. But if I had any problems, I always had, my mentor to look. I could go, get some help and get some clearance on, what to do with whatever problems I come through. But yeah, so I really believe in assistantships or internships like that. It really helped me. Also, it helped me develop a good relationship with, my professor. He was, my professor the year before, and now he's my mentor. It was really a wonderful experience. It wasn't just, do this, to get into the classroom, but he also gave me tips on how to be more professional and how to interact with other people. And we went to conferences together, and he introduced me as his research assistant, and people would ask me about what I was doing. And I paid respect to him, he paid respect to me. It was really a good beginning for a professional life.
Right. And I personally find talking to other people, and my experience in education has been, actually internship can be a huge advantage for students of all ages in all areas, because the more you learn how the knowledge works in the real life, you take something from a theory of the classroom and you put it in actual involvement and engagement of how the application of the knowledge is. It just makes all the difference in the world. And as somebody that graduated as an engineer, when I went to work, I thought because I graduated with good degrees, I should be, doing great, as an engineer. I find that, I really had a lot of misgiving from my perspective of how things would work.
Right.
It took me some time to really recognize that in the practical world, it is quite different than the academic world. And once I learned the insight, it made a huge difference. Now, I know people that went through schools that had internship. So because of that, my school didn't have it. So when I came out, that first year was quite harsh, and I was really disappointing. Sometimes I felt like, well, I wasn't measuring up to do the work, and but hanging in there and having great colleagues at work, really made all the difference. But I had students that they would have their system of education that included internship throughout, from their freshman year all the way through the graduate level program. It made a huge difference for them and made them far more job ready when they were ready to start the work in the real world, just like you explained about your experience. So
Also,
I do want to reiterate that for both institutions. as well as faculties and students, that this is really a very, very valuable tool to put in place.
Also,
So
students can,
go ahead.
they can easily see that what they're studying in the classroom, how it plays out in the real world, you know, so
Absolutely.
if you're
So what I
studying,
want to ask you is about professional mindset.
oh, okay.
Professional mindset, everybody has a definition for it, For my question to you is, what's your definition of professional mindset? And then how does that really play a role in your life, in academic life, in your professional life, in your family life? Maybe you can share with us some of your insight about what you think professional mind is.
I think professional mindset involves, I don't want to say sticking to the facts, but make sure that you know what is fact and what is your opinion. Of course, we all have experiences, we all have expertise, so opinions, our personal opinions can be very valuable, but they shouldn't be dominating our life and dominating our relationships with others. So, and that's another key point, is relationship with others. Always show respect, and no matter who is in charge or who's the boss or who's the subordinate, there should be some respect there and appreciation. Try to understand where the other person is coming from, what their situation is, put yourself in their situation. I think these things, staying objective, understanding what facts and what's opinion, and respecting the other person's point of view and their situation, that's really contributes to the professional mindset.
So what do you or whom you contribute able to make that really clarified and help you to understand that definition for you? And when did you start putting it to work for you?
Oh, I guess I learned in the school of hard knocks, and made all the mistakes in the beginning, and then I realized, oh, you're not supposed to do that. So when you think you know something and then you find out, no, it's not what you think it is, and then you have to backtrack and relearn what you thought you knew, so make sure that you are more grounded. And also, you think you're somebody's best friend, and then they say, you're not treating me with respect. All of a sudden you say, oh, I got to do that. It's really especially more serious with colleagues, so maybe you just see your colleagues 8 hours a day and don't communicate with them after work, but you still have to be able to respect them and respect where they're coming from, and know that if they have a different life than you, know that they have a different point of view. And we can really broaden our understanding if we can really build on our own point of view by collecting points of view from other people, and expanding our experience by adapting their experience to what we have.
Well said, well said. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. So now you've been a great educator. You've been working in K through 12, you worked in higher education, you have seen plenty of faculty members, you told us about the first grade teacher, second grade teacher. Well, these days there are a lot of challenges and there are a number of opportunities in education industry, right? So if you don't mind, maybe you can point out to a few of the challenges, and then on the other side about few of the opportunities that exist in today's world as far as education is concerned.
Okay, I think the challenges are that we as a society are not selling education as well as we should. It's really, valuable, asset in everyone's life, but if children and teenagers do not see how their current education is going to improve their lives or prepare them for the future as an adult, they're not going to value it so much. And teachers, and parents, administrators and policymakers don't always have that perspective that school is supposed to help young people grow to become valuable citizens and contributing citizens to society. So I think that's one main problem that we have. Also, this class consciousness is getting in the way of everyone having, equal chance at education. In the classroom, teachers might think, oh, that kid is really good, so let that kid take off. And this kid's, struggling, is probably going to fail the class. So why do I have to invest myself in there? But there's so many good programs that show that you can overcome these kind of problems associated more with social consciousness than actual social class. So if you were to measure social class, you'd have to call it what we do, social economic status, which is something that can definitely be changed. But social class is usually something that's imposed on people. So if teachers can really start thinking, let's improve the situation rather than, producing these self-fulfilling prophecies that kid's not going to do good and that kid is going to do good, this is really has to be a new change. Also, one thing other is we need more vocational education and show that how studying all of these things such as literature, a lot of people say, why do I have to study literature? It has nothing to do. I'm going to be a plumber. What does that have to do with that? But even that, why do we study these things, the philosophical aspects of life? Why do we have this liberation where people are supposed to study science and math and literature and culture? It's to make them a better citizen. So I mean, if you have a plumber who's really good, but doesn't take care of his neighbor, then you gotta worry. So we really want people who are really good at their job and can really take care of themselves, but also willing to help out and make our society something that's really precious and valuable. So so school had that goal. Let's make them good citizens by vocational education and gearing everything towards what life is going to be like for them as adults. I think students will find high school particularly, but any educational level more valuable and really want to invest in it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, you mentioned about, some of the things that is important, to not give up on the students, because
Right.
some people, may have ability to pick up some information faster than some others. And it's not about every subject, but people have different, what they call intellect.
Mhm.
So interest and intellect, when you kind of mix those together, that drives the students in the particular areas, and not everyone's intellect is the same. Some people may have intellectual uniqueness in areas that is different than some other people's intellect.
Right.
So how could teachers be able to tap into that to make the course more relevant for these individuals? Can you put some light onto that? Because I know you've done a lot of research in a number of areas. Please.
So I've studied Herb Gardner's multiple intelligences, and that's been going on for almost half a century. And people are not, so some people got it down really pretty good, but it's not really being bought as well as it should be across the board. But, if you can tell what a child's intelligence is, whether it's athletics or it's drama, or if it really is, mathematics, you could gear the education towards the child's interests and current abilities and expand from there. So, so some children catch on to mathematics faster than the other ones, but that does not mean the ones that take a little longer are really slow or incapable. Everyone's capable of being able to everyone's capable of being able to
Ma-
understand the mathematics that's required of them. But it takes
Absolutely.
time, it takes practice, it takes education.
Right. And I will hardly recommend, that this multiple intelligence is really a wonderful thing for teachers and administrators to become aware of it and, promote it within your organization, really,
Right.
regardless of K through 12 or higher education. When we talk about individualized differences and how to make the course more interesting and relevant. When you learn about multiple intelligence, you're able to really do a lot of things that otherwise it makes it difficult. Part of one, discussion that I had with a great friend was about we shouldn't be looking up to anybody and we shouldn't be looking down at anybody.
Exactly.
Because if we can see people as they are, that's really the most we can do to enjoy and appreciate individuals. And I think as a teacher, that is so, essential for us that we treat all the students the same way and try to see them exactly as what they are and make their journey and their time with us as exciting and as positive as we can make it.
Right.
Because when you look at, somebody like Ray, my good friend over here, he has had many years of education, under his belt, and he has had a lot of various professors and teachers that he has worked with. But when you think about any given individual, Ray, and I ask them about how many people have made significant impact in your life, they usually, right away can think about a handful of people. Some people, maybe a few more. Doesn't get to the two, digit numbers. I tell you, it's always under 10. But whatever number is, with most everybody, majority of those individuals that have made the biggest impact on people's life are teachers.
Exactly.
And always I was thinking about what if we were part of an organization that every teacher really looked at being that kind of teacher and they modeled themselves, in a way that they can make the most impact on people's life in a way that can count. Because, when you think about people that they have made those kind of impact in your life, they have a certain profile that is not really, and I've asked this from many people, and I'm going to ask you right now as well. Well, do you think these teachers, and by the way, is my comment something we would agree with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think teachers really have a positive effect. If those are the ones to really invest themselves, really have the best students. Those, you use the word model, right? If a teacher is not achieving all that he or she wants to, if they can find the right role model to follow, then what's the word? Fake it till you make it. So maybe I want to be a teacher, but I'm not that good, but I look at the person who is that good and I pretend I'm that person. You can do a good job.
If you think about those teachers, is it true that not only they did what they did for you, they did that for every single students that were in your class?
Yeah. Well, there you go. My third grade teacher, she really wanted to be a good teacher. She really wanted her students to be high achievers. And also chemistry, my chemistry teacher was also that way. This is what, 8 years difference, between third grade and, senior year of high school. But she also wanted everyone to really love chemistry as much as she did. And I was really inspired by that. And I look at people, I didn't go into chemistry, but I look at people that were in my class, and they just went right into college chemistry and did a pretty good job, based on.
Well, one of the characteristics when I talk to anybody about this is like they had that approach toward everybody, not just this individual because they were treating everybody the same way.
Yeah, right.
And another characteristic, what they're not actually among the ones that they're really easy. In some cases, they may be the most difficult or the restrict teachers that the people remember in their life.
Yeah, exactly. Chemistry, you have to stick with it, you know, and until
So they're
you
tough.
get it.
They are the same way with everybody. And then
Yeah.
one of the things that it was interesting that you would hear from individuals when you talk to them about this type of educator is the fact that they say that these teachers had more belief in the individuals than they had in themselves. They believed they were capable of doing things that maybe the individual themselves, they didn't think they had it in them. Right?
Yeah.
I can't do the mathematics. I'm not good. I mean, my case was learning English, right? I thought this is difficult. I can't do it, or other things, it doesn't matter. But you had somebody that believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself,
Actually
right?
draw out the talent that was inside the person. Teach them a
Well,
little confidence, self-confidence, and they can do it.
absolutely, absolutely. And I can tell you, I am truly delighted to have you with us as a guest. And for our audience, I want you to know that Dr. Brogan is that kind of professor that really loves every student that he has and gives his 110% to everybody.
Mhm.
And I am privileged to know you and have worked and associated with you. Have a
Thank you very
wonderful
much.
day. Thank you for
Bobby,
being our.
it's been great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.